Welcome to the Smith Publicity All Things Book Marketing Podcast, offering tips, insights, and advice from the best in the publishing industry.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of All Things Book Marketing. I'm your host, Olivia McCoy, and today on the Open Book, we have lifestyle book publicist Joelle Speranza. Hi, Joelle.
Hello.
So nice to have you on.
Yes, excited to be here finally.
We've been Skyping all week about our shared client. So, I haven't not talked to you in it, but it was nice to see your face.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about you and how you came to Smith.
So I've been at Smith about 5 years now. Before coming here, I've done all different types of PR, from entertainment. I started out in the music industry and then moved on to corporate healthcare, which is a drastic change I soon realized I hated. Then I went into consumer products, working at an advertising agency. And it was there that I realized I still wasn't feeling fulfilled with what I was doing. At that point, I was a self-published author, and I saw the job opening at Smith to work with authors. And I said, this is exactly what I'm looking for, to help other people achieve their dreams. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that story. That feels very fitting for you. Newsletters, because you did mention that you are an author as well. And I know you and I were talking newsletters, and you just had so much expertise and ideas that you were sharing. I was like, okay, I got to get Joelle on to talk about newsletters on the podcast episode. So let's talk newsletters. Why are they important? How do they help authors?
So newsletters are super important because it helps you stay connected with your audience first. And it also helps, besides just growing your audience, it helps them learn a little bit more about you personally. You can give a little bit of share personal stories so they get to know you, see how they can connect with you. And then you can really utilize it as a platform to grow your business. You can do book giveaways, provide exclusive content there, just make it a really fun place to be.
And what makes a good newsletter?
Good newsletter. So I think a newsletter should always entertain and educate, but not be overly self-promotional. You always need to get the self-promotion in there, maybe towards the end, but I think a good newsletter would open with a greeting to everybody, let them know like why you're here. Hey, here's some things that have been going on with my life. Maybe you want to share a personal story about something you've done or some TV shows you're watching. Did you just see a movie? What books are you reading? You can even do like a roundup of my favorite things right now type of thing, so people get to know you a little better. And then you can get into why you're actually writing this newsletter. Hey, I want to share some updates on my book. It's coming out, and provide a link for pre-order or something like that. So you're getting out there, keeping at the forefront of your audience's mind, but you're also teaching them something. So maybe that you're teaching them a lesson in your story, or you're providing, by the way, say you're a business expert, here are some ways to ask for a raise at work or something, 3 tips for this. So you can always provide short little tips in your newsletters, or provide a story that teaches them and provides them with something that they're able to act on to improve their lives, or that they want to share with a friend who might need it. So then your newsletter is reaching even more audiences when it's shared.
I feel like there's often some confusion with authors about being self-promotional and talking about yourself, because there's a way to be personable and share things about you and your life and your personality that's not promotional. So when we're talking self-promotional, we're meaning more buy my book, pre-order my book, review my book, that call to action. Whereas when we're talking about sharing an introduction, what's going on in your life, that's just being friendly, being a person.
Right. Yeah. You want to show that you're human behind the business. The business is the newsletter, and you have a job to get it out there and get in front of your customers, but you also want to show that you're relatable and you're a real person too.
Fun fact, social posts with faces do better than social posts without them. So
that's good to know.
Share your face. Yeah.
So you cannot be camera shy.
Nope, can't be camera shy. I know, as an author, I know you're behind the book, but you're very much in front of the camera too.
Give Canva a rest for a minute.
Give Canva a rest, unless it's your headshot on Canva and you're like playing with it.
That's true.
Canva. What about newsletter platforms that authors should consider? I know I love MailChimp. That's my personal favorite.
You do? Okay.
I love MailChimp. I don't know why. I think maybe it's because it's the first one I learned, so it always has like a special place in my heart. But I feel like you pay their minimum monthly fee, whatever that is, I forget off the top of my head, and you get to set up like an automated welcome, because I always try and do like an incentive. So, an author says, sign up for my newsletter to receive updates and also an exclusive first look or a
Sure.
chapter excerpt or like something. And then like, I don't want to have them emailing every single person themselves that subscribes. So having that automation function is really nice. So the welcome email just goes out. And I find like it's just simple to use and easy to navigate, but that's maybe my experience. So what do you got?
So I haven't used that, but I'm very familiar with MailChimp, Constant Contact. I get a lot of newsletters from there. I really love Substack because I'm also a writer, a freelance writer and journalist. So for me, for someone who has always had my own website and blog my whole life, I love the aspect that Substack brings in where your content also lives on the website. So it's a very easy way to have your own blog, and then it automatically gets sent as a newsletter to your subscribers. So for me, I feel like it's very easy to use. You can bring in your own graphics. There's even an audio component if you want, and you can monetize it, which I think is really great for people who have a business associated with their newsletter and they want to provide exclusive content that people can pay to get. It's a
Mhm.
really awesome way to grow your business if you get to that many followers and people who really want your content. So I love Substack.
I like Substack too. I do like that it's like a combination of blog and newsletter. I think this is one of the only places that you can do that really effectively.
I think so.
I mean, you can always like take your blog posts and include them in a newsletter that you're writing as like in case you missed it, I have published these over the last month or quarter or whatnot, but it's not the same.
I always start with Substack and then I actually copy my Substack as a blog on my website because I still like to keep my website updated and fresh. And I'm just, reutilizing content that I already have to keep it easy. So whenever I do a Substack post, I make graphics for it in Canva. I make it really fun. I think you can make it look like a digital magazine if you want to bring in graphics. So for me, it's not just about putting text. I like to make images to break up the text, fun pictures and things like that. So I first create the images in Canva, put them in my Substack. Once the Substack is out, then I take the whole blog post, put it on my website, including the images. So now I have a place where I can pin them. So I add them to my Pinterest board, get them onto Pinterest. So now the images are going on there. And then I use the images again for Instagram posts throughout the month. So I load up on everything all at once from doing this newsletter. And then I have content to use through all my other platforms.
Yes. I love that, reusing the content. I feel like that's such a missed opportunity when authors will create the content and they only use it one place. Like, no, put it everywhere. Like, reuse it in different ways.
Yeah.
Promote yourself across all your platforms, because the person following you on Instagram might not be following you on Pinterest or your blog or your newsletter or whatnot. So that's
right.
Perfect. Yes, I love that. And how often would you recommend someone sends out a newsletter?
I think once a week is good. If you need to start out once a month, you can do that too. I myself cannot always do it every week, but I try. But I think once a week is good. And then if you're gearing up for a big book release, I know a lot of authors will do 2 or 3 times a week, shorter newsletters just to say, hey, did you order? Hey, my book is here, just a reminder type of thing. So you can do that too. But if you're using your newsletter more as a forum for more of like a blog type of newsletter, then I think once a week is good.
Definitely makes sense for the blog type newsletter. I've also heard, and tell me what you think about this, of some authors doing like a check-in newsletter like once a quarter. So like for authors that maybe are a little slower to develop content, or that, like run a business or something that's very different than their book, then they don't have a whole lot of time. So like maybe doing a blog post once a month or twice a month, and then including those in a here's what you missed type newsletter style going out once a quarter. That's like an updated thing. And maybe that's better kind of in the interim between book launch and promotion type stuff. But
yeah, I mean, as long as you're getting out there, you're being proactive and connecting with your audience and doing something. And I even use newsletters a bunch of different ways. Like Substack, for example, I use 3 different ways. I use it as a publicist. I subscribe to what other journalists are writing about, so I can see a lot of journalists are on Substack because they're putting out calls for sources. So I monitor those types of Substacks as a publicist. Then as a journalist, I have my own Substack where I put out the calls for sources, and that's the Substack that all publicists subscribe to. So that's my way to interact with, get sources and publicists for stories. And then I have another one for my book, and that's where I'm following all of the literary trends and blogs from or Substacks from other authors and things like that. So I definitely utilize all areas of it.
So I've definitely picked the right person to bring onto this episode then,
Yes.
clearly. You got a lot of experience with newsletters. What are some of your favorites?
So I like to follow reporters, which you can easily find if you know who your favorite writers are at magazines and you follow them. Even on Instagram, they'll talk about their Substack. So I like to follow those. A lot of family and parenting writers because I'm in the lifestyle space, of course. But then I like to follow a lot of authors, like Emily Henry, for example, has a Substack on there. And I also like to follow the literary publications. There's a great one called Books and is it Agents and Books or Agents and Books. Book Riot has one, and then you can go in and search based on your specialty. So I'm writing romance novels, so I'll follow all romance writers Substacks, or I will, and because I'm self-publishing, I will look for independent self-publishing geared ones. So there's a lot of tips and marketing related Substacks on there too, based on what your interest is and where you're going.
I do love Courtney Maum, M-A-U-M, who wrote Before and After the Book Deal, where has a lot of great advice, and she has a Substack. Jane Friedman, I feel like, is a really popular one. Yeah, that's what leadership is always sending that around to our team because there's always great advice from Jane Friedman. That's a pretty consistent newsletter to sign up for. Book Riot has so many newsletters. I signed up for all of them, so I get like 20 emails a day
Oh my
from
gosh.
Book Riot, but they're so good. They're just like great recommendations and they're fun. And honestly, independent bookstores, I follow their newsletters because they give great recommendations, and it's really good for like comp titles, seeing
that's
what's popular, what are the booksellers recommending, what are people reading, what's coming out in the genres that we're promoting, or if you're an author that you're writing in. So I'm a big fan of following bookstores too.
I love that. And there's also this whole area of Substacks where people are just writing short stories. I know this is in the romance space where you can just subscribe and get short romance stories to your inbox every day too. So it's also another way of publishing.
That's really cool. I love that. Tell us more about that, because you are doing your own Substack with your own book, correct?
Yeah, so this is what you inspired me to do back when we were having a little mastermind brainstorm session, which my book was self-published, and it's 10 years old now, and I'm trying to revive it and bring it back so I can launch a new series of fiction books around it. And you told me, we were talking about Substack, you said, well, why don't you blog the book? So that's what I've been doing. I've been thinking, I give you the credit.
Thank you.
Which is one of the benefits also of being a self-published author, owning your content, is that you can do stuff like this. So I can every newsletter just copy and paste from my manuscript a chapter of the book, and I'll have content for like 40 weeks at least. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I know like we talked about it and we kind of came up with the idea together, but it's been really interesting to see it in practice. I was wondering like what that's like been like in practice, I guess, because I'm seeing it from the consumer side, and I've been following it, and I love that you post on social media too, because it reminds me to go check my email, because sometimes like my personal email gets kind of they're put in the back seat to my work email, so it's nice to be reminded to go check in. But have you been getting like some good interaction, like that's been working out well?
Yeah, well, I'm just starting out, and I will say that I have a very niche audience, which is young divorced women. So it's tough trying to get started out there. I have a lot of my original followers that are out there, and I am reaching new people, which is exciting. For my other newsletters that are more general, I definitely have a lot of subscribers, and it's really fun. I will say for publishing my writing on Substack, I'm more nervous to do that than I think I was to publish the book, especially because it was 10 years ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, would I still write like that today? Or what are people going to think? Does it fit with the times? But also it's like, once you hit send, it's out there as a newsletter in people's inboxes, and they're reading it. It's not like you can just put a book up and just know maybe someone's buying it and reading it, then it's getting out there. So I get a little nervous with it.
Well, I think it's really cool too that you're doing this and using the old book to kind of promote your writing and get people excited, because you have other books that you're working on too.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing a fiction series around my memoir, which you really
So
helped
cool.
me tie all together because I was really stuck on how I was bringing in the series aspect of it and bringing in the memoir to the current book that I was using. But after I talked to you and it just completely clicked, it was like you were my own consulting session.
Oh my God, you're giving
One
me
of the benefits for working at Smith, I was like, yes, Olivia was like that missing piece of what I needed to do. And then you talked to me about self-publishing and really like pushed me back to that area. And now I am like flying on a great path. So thank you.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're giving me way too much credit. Honestly, like you just like tapping into the fiction. It is one of the benefits of working at Smith. You're able to tap into the fiction team. So I'm glad I was able to help. But if I ever start working on a memoir, then I'm gonna come straight back to you and be like,
Yes,
okay, so help me figure this out because this is very different than what I typically do.
Right.
So that is really, really cool. Anything else you want to plug? Anywhere that our listeners and watchers can follow you, learn more, and sign up for your newsletters?
Oh, well, if you are a publicist, you can subscribe to my what is it called? It's called The Story Seller. And it is joellesperanza.substack.com. And if you are interested in following along for my writing, then you can join trashthedress.substack.com.
Excellent. You're on LinkedIn too.
I'm on LinkedIn and I have website joellesperanza.com. So you can just find all my links on there.
Great. And then everyone, of course, knows you can always follow Smith Publicity on all social medias. We put up blog posts, other podcast episodes, especially with our Smith Publicity staff for more insights and advice. We have our webinar series that we have going all the time. So keep up with us, keep up with Joelle to constantly be learning and discovering new fun things.
And maybe you might even find a farm animal reading a book on the Smith page.
You might find a farm animal reading a book. Right now, we're encouraging people to follow us on Threads so we can get our founder to kiss one of his chickens.
I did not know that was the thing that we're doing. Okay.
We're incentivizing followers by promising some fun little not pranks, but some fun randomness, office culture stuff.
Getting to know the behind the scenes at Smith.
The personalities of Smith. Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it.
Well, thank you so much for joining. I really
you.
appreciate it. And if you like this episode, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with anyone else that might be interested. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smith Publicity All Things Book Marketing Podcast. To reach us and learn about our many services, visit smithpublicity.com or send us an email to info@smithpublicity.com.